Around 80% of small business owners are just getting by in their businesses. And regardless of the fact that they've got teams built around them, they still feel stuck in or trapped by the business that they created, normally for freedom. What I'm going to take you through in today's video is a clear roadmap that shows you exactly why that happens, as well as a simple 4-step process that can help you overcome this issue and create a business that you love, that your team love, and that keeps you healthy, happy, and motivated. So a quick story on me. I started my first business in 2016 and I was full of passion and excitement. And about 3 years into that business, it was doing very well. I started to feel a little bit trapped by the business that I created. 5 years into that business, I felt completely trapped, burnt out and depressed, and eventually closed the business. After closing the business, I did some self-reflection and came to the conclusion that my values in life and my goals in life are all around business. So what I had to do was figure out how to have a business and be happy. So I went to work, I created a consultancy called Better Happy. I started doing a lot of work on myself, working with mentors, working with business coaches, working with psychologists, counselors, and that led to me having a lot of realizations, which I've since shared with hundreds of business owners, employees, managers, leaders, which has further developed my insight into the common problems that happen and how we can overcome them. So what I'm going to share with you in this video today is a lot of what those insights have led to, culminated into some really simple, easy to understand methodologies and models that I know are going to help you as a business owner be able to zoom out, see what's going on, see the situation that you're in, and be able to navigate it more smoothly and quickly so that you can enjoy growing your business. The world needs business owners and entrepreneurs. Okay, we need people that have got ideas, that are good problem solvers, that create opportunities, that create work for people. We need business owners, but business owners have a very unique mindset that without the right structure around it can lead to a lot of pain and suffering. So if that's you, I want you to thrive. I want you to make all the difference in the world that you're meant to make in the world. I want you to enjoy growing your business. I want you to create jobs for people. I want you to make money. I want you to create freedom. But in order to do that, I need to give you the right strategies that enable you to do that without you getting stressed or burning yourself out or sacrificing your health. So what I'm going to show you is a few models that are going to help you understand the problem. So the first thing we need to understand is that all business owners are different, and we've got 3 kind of major drivers when it comes to wanting to own or grow a business. And if we understand how these drivers break down, we can also understand some of the problems that they create if we're not going about them in the right way. So broadly speaking, I would say that all business owners have some of or all of the following 3 motivations, but will tend to lead more to one. So we've got purpose, people, and profit. So the 3 main drivers when we're thinking about owning businesses tend to either be people, purpose, or profit. And what happens with a lot of business owners is when they start their first business is they're very focused on either people or purpose. We've got an idea, we've got a problem that we want to solve, we've got people that we want to help. And this is very much me in my first business. I was driven by this desire to help people be healthier and to make the world a better place. And that's great, and we need those drivers. But if they come, either one of those or 2 of those, at the extent of this, we've got a problem. And there's a lot of business owners that have a negative relationship with money as well. And that's going to lead to a big problem, right? Because for us to have a business that thrives and that makes a difference in the world and that pays people and pays you and gives you the life that you need, we need this piece. We need the profit piece. So regardless of which one you lean to more, you need to make sure 100% that you're definitely not neglecting the profit piece. And a big realization for me was, if I want to help people and I want to make a difference, I've got to make money, right? And normally if we have got issues around money, it comes from our own fears and our own limiting beliefs as opposed to reality. Now that said, we need these 2 pieces as well. And what these 2 pieces lead to, having the people piece and the purpose piece, is a business that's going to stand the test of time. All right. So on the opposite end of the spectrum of the owner that doesn't really prioritize profit, and that creates problems, we could have the business owner who's very focused on profit. And generally speaking, the business owner that's very focused on profit is going to get much more traction much quicker because they're focused on the numbers, they've validated the market, they've done all the stuff that us non-profit driven business owners have neglected. So we need to make sure that we have all 3 of them, because if we've got the highly profit driven business owner but they've got no focus on purpose or people, we're going to make money because we've got good systems and processes and a good focus on the market, but it's not going to stand the test of time. If there's no passion behind the service or the product, it's not going to keep getting developed. We're just going to keep charging more, but not improving the service or the product. And if we're not good with people, whether that be our employees or our customers, then obviously the business is going to start to have its issues. We're going to struggle to hold on to people. We're going to struggle to have good people that are motivated and passionate. So the ultimate realization is that you need all three of those. And what I want you to think about whilst watching this is, how do you sit across those three areas, and how would you divide your focus and motivation up into these three different areas? And what I would say is a really important mindset to get into is that if you want to be a successful business owner and you want to make a difference and you want to grow and you want to stand the test of time and you want to enjoy owning a business, which is vital, right? We need to enjoy owning a business. This piece here should be at least half of your focus. Okay, we should be spending as much time on marketing and sales as we are on product and delivery. And I think one of the biggest realizations that I've gone through from learning from mentors and from making mistakes is that for a business to really thrive, we've got to spend as much time on sales and marketing as we have on product development, service development, and delivery. And that can be a big shift to go through, but you've got to go through that process, because if you don't get into this mindset where you're spending as much time on sales and marketing, you could end up with the best thing in the world, but not enough people know about it. I think we like to think that if our thing is good, our service is good, our product is good, it will just sell itself. Whilst that will happen to an extent, we'll get referrals and we'll get a reputation. We live in a very competitive world. We've got the internet. It's easy for people to grab and demand people's attention. You're competing with all that. So if you haven't got a strong marketing and sales approach to your business, it's not going to get out there. It's not going to get the recognition it deserves, regardless of how good it is. And you'll end up in a business that's struggling, and that's going to trap you as the owner, and it's going to lead to a team that don't feel very confident. So that's the first piece, right? Most business owners, we're going to be divided across those three P's. If you're watching this video, there's a fairly high percentage chance that you might be neglecting the profit piece. Okay, we need to put as much emphasis on that as we do anything else in the business. When we've got that balance across those three, we start to make that journey towards creating a really enjoyable, successful ecosystem for people to thrive in within our business. So think about where you sit across those three. Which one do you need to focus more on? Probably this one. Are you spending at least half of your time on marketing and sales of your products or services, as well as developing them and making them better? The next thing that we need to understand after understanding that is something called the core four. And this was a huge kind of paradigm shift for me when it came to understanding business and how a business should work. So a business is an ecosystem of relationships, and it's relationships between four different groups. And all four of those groups need to be getting what they want from the business, right? If they feel like they're winning and they've got a win-win relationship with the business will thrive. Whereas if one of those groups starts to feel like they're being taken advantage of, well, they're not getting what they want from the business, that's when issues arise. So this is what I call the core four. So within any business, there's four different groups, right? And at the top left, doesn't matter which order we put them in, we've got the owner. Okay, so that's you, you're the owner, right? And then at the bottom right, we've got the customers. Top right, we've got the actual business, okay? Or we could say the bank account. And at the bottom left, we've got the team. So for a business to work, all four of these are required. Now, maybe in a small business when it started, or we've got a self-employed person, the owner is the team as well. But generally speaking here, we're talking about established businesses that have got employees. So each one of these is essential for the ecosystem of the business. And what typically happens is that as the business develops, an owner will not necessarily the owner themselves, but the owner's focus will lead to them either neglecting themselves or letting another area of the business be neglected. So let's think about it. Everybody puts something in. Now what the owner, and it changes at stages, which is the second part of what we'll talk about. But what the owner's going to put in, okay, is drive, focus, energy, ideas, often their own funds, right, to get the business started. And what they want from the business, what they want in return for that effort and drive and energy and risk, is different things. But early on, when we start a business, early on, the things that you want from the business tend to be, so the things that you want to take back, freedom, excitement, levels of success, knowing that you're making a difference. So when you start a business, that's what you want. You're going to put in all this time and effort, because business owners and entrepreneurs are very future focused, right? So you're going to put all this time and effort in and money and take this risk, but you've got the freedom to be your own person, autonomy, you can make your own decisions, you get to make a difference, you get to see that you're making an impact. So at the start, that's what a business owner wants. Now, some of the things that I don't think really change for most business owners are we want to make an impact, we want a level of freedom, and we want to make money. Whether we like to admit that or not all the time, we do, right? What's the point in owning a business if we're not going to make money? We may as well, it's hard, right? So we may as well just have a job if we're not going to make really good money from owning a business. So those things tend to be quite consistent. What does the business itself want then? So this is another area that tends to get neglected, right? Well, the business gives us structure, legitimacy, okay, legality. The business acts as a medium for us to run a business, right? Even though in theory it doesn't exist, as you can't see the business, having a company gives us the medium to actually run a business, to exist legally, to trade, to pay people, to process payments, etc. Now, what a business wants, as well as being legal to just stay alive, is it wants profit, right? So the business will take out profit. And if you starve a business of profit, there's no money in the business, the owner's going to be stressed, the team are going to be stressed, the service can't be delivered to the customer. So the business will always want profit. I'm just going to write this up here. So we tend to want freedom, finance, up there. Okay, so business puts in legitimacy, structure, the ability to process payments, the ability to employ people, the ability to trade. What it takes, what it wants in return is profit. And if you feed a business profit, it stays happy, right? Then we've got our customers, right? So what do our customers put into the business, right? Customers put in money to the business, right? They say, I want your thing, I want your product or your service, and I'm willing to give you some of my money in exchange for that product or service. And as long as they're willing to do that, the business can make money. What they expect in return from giving you their money is value, right? They expect a service or a product or an experience that they believe is equal to or worth more than the money that they've exchanged with you. So it's really not rocket science. They'll also add more money to the business because if a customer's happy, they're also going to bring in referrals. They're going to talk about it with their friends and with other peers, potentially give us reviews. So they're going to put in money, but in return they expect value. And then finally, last but not least, we've got the team, right? So your employees. And what your team put into the business is energy, focus, drive, passion, skills, and a good team will enable us to deliver a service or product and to make it better. They're going to make the culture better. They're going to give ideas, innovation. They're going to drive the business forwards, as well as doing the day-to-day. And what do they expect in return? What does a team expect in return? Well, at the bottom level, they need wages, right? So at the kind of bottom of the motivational pool, or regardless of how we think about it, low or high on the motivation scale is going to be wages, but other things they want is culture, safety, belonging, feeling of meaning and value, things that tend to get overlooked in the modern world when it comes to keeping employees engaged. So we've got these 4 different things, and what you need to understand is that if any of these get neglected long term, that's going to come to the detriment of the business. Now, I'm going to tell you the mistake that I made in my business. So with my first business, the areas that I neglected were myself and the business. Okay, so I started it full of passion and drive and excitement. I wanted the world to be a better place. I was very naive. I didn't think about the business side of it. I thought that bit doesn't excite me. And I had this mindset, whereas if I just do a really good job and provide a really good service, everything will come good. I come off the back of living on monasteries in Thailand and Nepal after leaving the army. So I think part of me believed that just because, if I have good karma, if I'm a good person and I help people, it'll all just come together. And what happened was over that 3 to 5 year period was I constantly kept telling myself, I don't need to pay myself very much because I need to grow the business. I need to put that back in. I don't need to take time off work because I've got to grow the business. I've got to fix any problems that arise. So I started to get, this sense of freedom started to feel like it was being neglected. So 2 of these biggest drivers for a business owner, this freedom and this finance piece, bearing in mind that finances feed the freedom, I was neglecting in the name of making the business great and making the business better. So what it led to over time was me just getting really stressed, really burnt out, really tired. And it wasn't like a one day I just don't feel motivated anymore, but it was a case of I went from being this highly motivated, excited, passionate person to being this person that was tired and moody a lot of the time, to being this person that just hated the business and didn't want to have anything to do with it anymore. And that's all because I didn't think about what I wanted from the business. I just thought about the excitement and the passion and making a difference. Now, what you want from the business changes as the business grows, and we're going to talk about that very shortly. But what happens with most business owners that I work with, or a lot of business owners, is they start with the passion and the excitement and the vision, and they're just happy with the freedom. But then as the business goes on, that stops motivating you at some point, like working 70 hours a week and spending all your money and not paying yourself. Believe it or not, at some point becomes non-motivating anymore. So we neglect to actually think about what we want and how our needs are changing as time goes on and the business goes on. So we've got to think about that, but I didn't, right? And what I also neglected was profit, okay? So I didn't think about the right business model. I didn't really put any thought into pricing. My strategy was kind of look at what competitors charge the same as that, and offer too many discounts, and surely that will work. It's a really bad way to think about how you're going to make money. And ultimately, this is a conversation for a separate video, but this helps you get the foundation. If you want your business to be successful and to make a difference and to impact all of these people positively, you're probably going to have to charge more than the market average and deliver a better level of service. But that's a separate conversation. So I didn't think about profit. I didn't think about myself. I really cared about my team, and I really over-delivered to my customers. But what happened was, obviously, the profits weren't there, so I couldn't pay the team what they really deserved. And that stressed me out. So I was unhappy that I couldn't pay them what they really deserved. And then over time, because we didn't have the cash surplus, it was hard to try and improve the facility, to make it better. We couldn't take on new staff. So the whole thing just started to feel stressed and non-enjoyable, because I was sacrificing these two things to try and please these things. And what I'm trying to show you there is that's a false economy. Okay, if you're, and I want every person watching this, if you're a business owner, I want you to think about these 4 areas. Are you neglecting any of them? Are you doing that out of this false notion that, if I just look after my customers, that's the right thing for the business? It's not. If you're just looking after the customers to the neglect of you or the profits, not charging enough because you think you're trying to do a good job by your customers, all that will happen is the business will stop being able to grow, stop being able to get better, and you're going to starve your customers of your service eventually when you close the business, which is ultimately what happened with me, right? I closed that business, and those customers, many of which I still see today, no longer have access to that service. And many of them still say to me, oh, it's such a shame that business went. It made such a big difference in our lives. So it's a false notion if we are not fulfilling all 4 of those. So it's really important for you as a business owner to get it into your mind and cement it in there that none of these 4 can be neglected, ever. If they're neglected for a period of time, the business will start to fall apart. Other examples could be, you could have the very profit-driven business owner. So they're doing the opposite, right? They're thinking about themselves. They're taking all the money out. They're having nice holidays. The business is making money, but the way they're doing that is by not paying the team enough and scrimping on the services and the products. Of course, you can see very quickly that that's not going to last a long time. The team are going to get fed up. They're going to want to leave. You're going to struggle with retention. They're not going to be engaged, so the things aren't going to be getting better. There's no money to improve the products or services, and the team aren't motivated to do so. So the customers eventually are going to get fed up, and they're going to go to another competitor who's going to be providing a better service. So when we neglect any of these long term, it always leads to the business starting to fail in the long term. Now, you don't have to be perfect, and there's always going to be problems, because that's the nature of life and the nature of business. But we should just be zooming out and thinking about what's going on, which areas am I neglecting. And many of the business owners that I work with, better happy due to the nature of the business and our marketing, tend to be business owners that really care about people and neglect these 2 things, even in very established businesses, right? So we need to look after those 4 areas. Now what I need you to really understand is how the motivations of a business owner change as the business grows, and how, if we don't adapt to those different changes, it leads to a business owner getting really stressed, really unhappy, really unfulfilled, and eventually stuck in the business. And eventually what that leads to is a business owner ending up with this business that they care about, they're proud of to an extent, even though it's not turned out what they want it to be, but they can't sell it, right? So you've got a team, you've got people that you feel responsible for, but you're in a business that you feel trapped in and that's dependent on you. And the reason for that, and the reason that's so common, is because we don't adapt to the different stages. So there's 4 stages, and by understanding these, it'll help you completely transform the way you see what's going on in your business and in your life, and be able to adapt to it accordingly so that you can stay on top of your game and stay motivated. So we've got the 4 S's, the 4 S stages of business growth, and any business goes through these 4 stages, and with each stage, what motivates you and what you need as an owner changes. And if you can adapt to those stages, you're going to feel good. If you can't adapt to those stages, you're going to start to feel trapped, fed up, bored, demotivated, all those things that kill businesses. So at the bottom of the triangle, we have what's called the startup phase. Now, I'm assuming, because you're watching this video, that you're probably past the startup phase, right? So this tends to be anywhere from kind of 0 to 3 years. Normally, I'd say you get out of this phase in the kind of 18-month period phase. So this is kind of 0, can be up to 3 years. Okay, so what's going on here is, and I'm talking really about a bootstrapped business, so not a funded business where you start with a team in place. I'm talking about self-funded business where we're us as the owners, we're going about it in our own way, right? So you start the business, you've got no customers, you've got an idea, you quit your job, you take the plunge, right? So this is the startup phase, and in this stage, as a business owner, you are motivated by freedom, by excitement, by the ability to carve your own destiny, to be your own boss, to create your own future. So for that, you are willing to put in a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of finances, and take a lot of sacrifice, and maybe stress out your family as well. So that's a common set of motivations for a startup business owner. After this then, at some point, typically between 0 and 18 months, so typically between when we start and when we get to this next kind of period, we tend to move into what I call the success, excuse my writing, / slog phase. And I have thought about turning this into 2 stages, but I think it's really important that we call it the success, then the slog stage, okay? Now the reason for this is what's actually going on at this stage. So the success stage is when we're moving out of this startup zone where we don't really know if the thing we've got is going to work. We're not really making any money. We're just kind of putting the feelers out there and putting stuff together. At some point, we're going to start to build a bit of a client base, develop a following, start selling services and products, and build a bit of a team. So this is when we move into the success phase. And now you as a business owner, your motivations are being fulfilled because you are making a difference. It's working. You're creating your own destiny. You've created your own finances. You're starting to create jobs for people. And this gives a business owner a huge sense of satisfaction because we've kind of proved our worth. We've proved that this can be done. Now, at some point, this will turn into the slog phase, and this is probably one of the most important things to understand, I think, as a business owner, to look after your mental health. So we like the success phase. We love the success phase, and the reason that we love it is because we've created success. Everybody's looking up to us. The team look up to us. The customers look to us. We're involved in everything, and we feel good about it, right? So that's why it's called the success phase. And this can last, by the way, for anywhere from kind of 1 to 10 years, maybe even longer. So if you feel like you're in that phase now and you've been there longer, let us know in the comments. But the success phase, the problem with it is obviously everything's reliant on you. So that's good at the beginning, right? So that motivates you in the early stages. But at some point when this freedom piece is calling back to you as a business owner, it's going to start to feel more like a slog. Okay, and that is where a lot of business owners get stuck. And they don't know what's going on, and the motivation starts to drop, and we start to feel unhappy, and we don't feel inspired anymore, and we don't know what to do. And if we stay here, if we stay in the slog phase, the business is destined to fail, and we're destined to struggle with our mental health as business owners. So I think this can last from anywhere from 1 to 10 years. For me, it lasted about 2 with the first business, and as I moved into that 3rd year, I'm like, I created this thing for freedom. I want to make a difference. I want to be putting my ideas out there. I want to be making things better. But now I feel like I'm trapped because this whole thing's reliant on me. And I'm working all the time. I can't switch off. I'm dealing with every problem that pops up. I'm not enjoying it. I don't feel free as an owner. So that's when we move into the slog phase. Now, I think that's really important for you to hear as a business owner, because hopefully just hearing that, if you're in the slog phase, by the way, so many business owners are in the slog phase, and we'll talk about why that is again in a moment. There's nothing wrong with you. You haven't messed your business up. You're not just miserable. You're not fulfilling your motivations as a business owner. So you remember freedom, finance, make a difference, all of these things. When we're first in the success phase, we feel like we're achieving that. But then once we get stuck, once we've been there for too long and we can't see a way out, this is the problem. Now it turns into slog. And now your motivations as a business owner aren't being fulfilled. You don't feel like you've got freedom. You feel like you've got a job that's very demanding. You don't feel like you can go and make a difference and pursue your ideas, which is what typically business owners like to do, because you're constantly working and constantly thinking about the business. So when this happens, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that you're kind of mentally ready to move on to the next stage. And if you just give yourself the pathway to that next stage and permission to recognize that, you'll start to feel good again. You'll start to get your motivation back. The business will start to improve again. If you stay here, you're going to get fed up. You're going to get depressed. And because the business is still reliant heavily on you, hence the reason that's the reason you're depressed, because you're no longer happy, the business will start to drop in performance. The team will sense it. Customers will sense it. Your ideas aren't driving it forwards anymore. Everything starts to go wrong. Okay, so the most important thing we can do at this stage, and I'll just put over here again, is think about what you need as the business owner. Okay, what do you need? Because it's got to a point now where you're putting loads of time in and you're putting loads of effort in, and you're not having any holidays and you're not paying yourself enough. Okay, and that might be keeping the business profitable, and it might be making the customers happy, and it might be making your team happy because you're driving everything forwards, but it's not making you happy. So you're going to get fed up, and actually what will probably happen, like I said, is you'll start to feel stressed. The team will sense that. They'll stop being as motivated. The customers will sense that, and because we're not focused on the business, because we're tired and fed up and depressed, the profits will drop as well. So if it goes on for a long time, all the relationships start to break down. So what do we need to do? We need to safely move to the next level. And the next level, the only way out of the slog phase, is a phase that a lot of business owners don't like because it bores them. And this is the systems phase. I'm going to try and write darker because this pen's a bit light. Systems, okay? So this is the systems phase, right? It's the only way to go from feeling stuck in your business to creating a business that can work without you, and that can continue to grow. And the systems phase, and this is what's really important about the systems phase, is it's a win-win situation. By creating systems, we move back to making the business work without the owner. So we move back to fulfilling your motivations as an owner, because all of a sudden you start to realize, oh, this thing can work without me. So not only am I making an impact and creating jobs and making money, I've got my freedom back again. So that will start to fulfill your motivations as an owner again. So we're just moving into that next level. Believe it or not, they'll actually motivate your team, because at some point, at the start of a journey, it's really exciting when the owner's involved in everything and driving things forwards. But at some point, it actually becomes detrimental to the team because they feel disempowered by the fact that everything's still done by you. That gets to a point where you've got these teams, and it typically is like 3 to 5 years in, they know the business like the back of their hands. They know how to make it better. They need you to get out of the way so that they can do that. And systems will enable them to do that. So it's going to motivate the team more. Customers, right? Customers are going to get a more consistent service or product, and the option for it to reach more customers. And there's an option for it to reach more customers, can't speak, because you've put systems in place. Okay, so they work as well, and they make us more profitable, right? We're reaching more customers, we're delivering a more consistent service or product. The team have got processes to follow, regardless of whether the owner's there or not. Things become more profitable. So everybody wins in the core four. The business wins, the profits win, which is the business, the customers win, they get a more consistent and reliable service. The team wins, they know what they're doing, it's more structured and systemized, and they can do stuff without you, the owner. You get your freedom back and you make more money. So the systems phase is really important, but typically speaking, entrepreneurs don't like systems. They bore us. We want to be doing ideas. We want to be chasing new things. We want to be driving the charge forwards. Okay, so normally what you need to do is get somebody on board that's going to help you with the systems. That's not a plug for me and for what I do, but it's just to highlight that if you don't like doing this stuff, it's got to be done. So you need to find the person that can do it with you. And there's tons of fantastic books out there. You've got Traction, E-Myth, probably two of the best ones around helping you get into this mindset of putting the systems in place. Right, and typically speaking, to really systemize a business and to really systemize yourself out as an owner, it's between 1 and 3 years, typically speaking. Okay, now of course that can change, and I'm sure there's people that will turn their noses up at that and say it doesn't need to be anywhere near that long, or it needs to be way longer. I'm just giving you an average. I think on average it takes about 1 to 3 years. But once you've got those systems in place, all of a sudden your motivations are fulfilled as an owner again, and everybody else is winning. So if you're feeling stuck in your business, you're probably in the slog phase. You're probably here. The business is reliant on you. That's coming to your detriment, to the detriment of the business, detriment of the team. Okay, instead of seeing it as the end of the world, we need to start putting the systems in place. Once we've got the systems in place, there's a new stage, or a nice stage, which ultimately we'll want to get to, which is, I'm going to write above here so we can see, sale or scale. Okay, so the sale or scale phase is where the business is systemized, it's profitable, it works well, it's not dependent on you as an owner, so it can work without you. So that makes it very attractive to people that will buy your business, to potential business buyers, right? And often the people that buy it will scale it or pull it into another group of businesses that are similar and utilize the customer base. So what that does is it creates an environment or a situation where you can get a nice capital event, which is a payout from your business, and you can make the business fully non-reliant on you. Now, that does create new challenges for business owners when they sell their businesses, because a lot of the time our identity is kind of embedded into these businesses. So once we sell them, we can find ourselves in this position like, oh, what do I do now? What's my reason for being? What's my kind of reason d'etre? So that does create new challenges. But of course, we're going to be much happier if we've got a business that we're either scaling, by the way, which I didn't really go into, which is you could also have the option to go, right, I want to make this thing way bigger, which is essentially like starting a business again, but maybe not from scratch, but the process of taking a small business from this small, systemized, well-established business to being a big monster, that's essentially like going into a new business, right? So you have the choice. Typically speaking, most of us would prefer to sell it, but you'll have the choice, right? Once you've gone from that systems phase and everything's running smoothly, you've then got the freedom and the opportunity to do with that business what you want. And for most of us business owners, what we should be doing that we're not doing is thinking about what we'd eventually like to do with the business. What kind of number would we like to sell it for, by what time, and then we should be reverse engineering what the business is doing to fulfill that number. And if we're passionate about what we're doing and we care about the people, all of those things will come together with the profit piece to actually give us a thing that works for everybody. So that takes you into the sale or scale phase. So my key takeaways for you. So my key takeaways for you are that a business changes, and so do the motivations of an owner as the business changes and goes through these different stages. And if you're feeling a bit trapped or demotivated or stuck by your business, that's very normal. Okay, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, and it doesn't mean there's anything inherently wrong with the business. What it probably means is you're not navigating through these 4 stages. And I think this is such an important video to share because this isn't minor, the impact it has on the mental health of a business owner, right? And when I had my first business and I was stuck in that slog phase for 2 years, I started questioning myself as a human. I started to dislike myself because I'm actually very, like most business owners, I'm passionate about being passionate, and I know that has a positive impact on the people around me. So when I was no longer feeling passionate and I wasn't feeling focused and I wasn't feeling driven because I felt stuck in a business, I disliked myself, and I questioned my kind of existence. Like, why what's going on with me? This isn't who I want to be as a person, and that's a dark place to be in, right? And we don't want to be there. So for you as a business owner, it's vital that you for anybody, it's vital that they look after their mental health. But I think for you as a business owner, you have a big impact on the people around you. You can create work for people. You deliver. You bring into reality products and services that impact people's lives. You're probably quite an influential character in your family and in your relationships. So we want you to be the best version of yourself. And when you're the best version of yourself, you positively impact many people around you. But on the flip side of that, when you're not in a good place, people are going to feel that too. Most of all, you. So I feel like it's a big mission of mine in life to take the misery out of business. That's why our business is called Better Happy. And although that sounds a little bit negative, potentially taking the misery out of business, the reality is business can very quickly turn into something that makes us unhappy. And when we look at the data in the UK especially, there's very low levels of employee engagement, very high levels of manager burnout, very high levels of business owner stress, poor mental health, and burnout as well. Same with executives in big companies. So the reality is that business does, for many, many people, make them unhappy. And I know we see the success stories on the internet of people that are, in businesses that are absolutely smashing it. The reality is there's way more that aren't. And that's not because of a lack of people's capability. It's not because there's business owners out there that just aren't switched on or savvy enough. It's because of this stuff that I'm talking about behind me. It's because business is an ecosystem that has to work in those 4 different relationships, and 25% of those relationships is you, the owner. It's because our motivations change and the business changes. And if we don't adapt to our own motivations and the changing levels of the business, we just get stuck at stages. So when we're feeling trapped or we're feeling stuck or we're feeling a bit depressed, there's nothing wrong with us, there's nothing wrong with the business, we're just stuck at a level. And all we've got to do is give ourselves some clarity on what we need to do to get to the next level, as I've shared with you here, and then give ourselves permission to start moving into that next level. My final point is this, because it's something that I needed to hear a few times to kind of let it sink in. And that is, you're going to get to a position in your business when you're in the slog phase, right, where you've created a level of comfort for yourself. Okay, you're able to pay yourself a wage. You're able to work a certain amount of hours that might not be exactly what you want, but they're sustainable and they're okay. And typically, you got to that stage off the back of a very challenging stage, which is the startup and the mess that's around a startup. So think about the emotional journey you've been through as a business owner. You've gone from normally having a stable career or an income to starting your own business, and all of the stress and challenge that comes with that. You've probably put a lot of your self-confidence and self-worth into your ability to get results, which is bloody hard when we start a business, and we tend to underestimate it. So when we start businesses, those first kind of 3 years are stressful. They're very stressful, and we're questioning our existence, and we're putting a lot of strain potentially on the people around us. So we come out of that tough, challenging fight of a kind of segment of life, and then we create a level of stability for ourselves and we move into the success phase. And now, like I said, it doesn't change what your motivations are as a business owner. You want to create something epic. You're very vision focused. You want to have a good lifestyle for yourself and for the people around you. So although you've got this level of comfort now in your business, it doesn't change the fact that you are still future driven and you've still got a big vision that's bigger than being in that slog phase. But fear kicks in, right? We're scared of losing it all. We're scared of taking our family through the stress again. We're scared of potentially not having a wage and all of this stuff and having to work crazy hours. Obviously, we're older than when we started, so we might not have the same levels of energy that we used to have. So we let fear keep us in that slog phase. And even though we're unhappy there, we're like, I'm just going to stay here anyway because I don't want to risk going through the changes that could get me out of here. And what I think we need to do as business owners to stop that, so we don't stay stuck in this horrible stage, is we need to position that fear differently in our minds, and we need to say, okay, what have I actually got to lose here? If I carry on in this phase of business where I'm stuck, I'm working loads still, I'm working more than what I'd like to work, and I'm probably not paying myself enough, and the business can't work without me, am I going to be happy in 10, 20 years, 5 years, however far away it is in the future? And if the answer is no, well, then you've got nothing to lose. Okay, you've got nothing to lose by moving into the systems phase. And the part of your brain that's telling you that the thing can only work if you're heavily involved and you're doing everything, that's just fear. It's just fear and perfectionism telling you that it's the hunter-gatherer part of your mind telling you that the world's going to end if you step away. And it won't. I promise you, it won't. And your team are more capable than you realise. And although you tell yourself only you can do what you do, the reality is 10 people doing half of what you do are better than you on your own. So your business is absolutely systemizable and scalable. It's just fear and a little bit of a emotional tiredness from getting the business to where it is that's keeping you there. But remember, if you stay there, you're going to be unhappy anyway. So you've got nothing to lose by moving into the systemized phase, and it's not going to be anywhere near as risky or scary as you think it is. Look, business is there to make you happy. Businesses are there to be enjoyed, to make the owners happy, to make employees happy, to make customers happy, and to even make the tax man happy, because we're making money out of nothing. It's alchemy, right? And if we're not enjoying it, that's the key thing that we need to kind of step back and go, okay, why am I not enjoying it? What needs to change? And I think one of the biggest problems we've got, especially in the UK, in our British mindset, is that we're okay with not enjoying stuff for a long period of time because we're focused on working hard and being efficient. And that's what you don't want to happen, right? For you to be the best version of yourself as a business owner, you've got to be enjoying your business. Now, I'm not saying that every day you should be waking up and jumping out of bed and skipping to work. You know, we're going to have all the challenges and the stress that come with owning a business. But generally, the general feeling of your business should be something that you enjoy and that you're having a good time doing. And if you're not enjoying it and you're not having a good time, it's time to step back, think about what needs to change, and then make those changes. And I can guarantee that 9 times out of 10, can't point, if you're not enjoying it and you've not been enjoying it for a while and you've got used to that, it's because you're in that slog phase and you need to start to give yourself permission to move to the systemized phase. If you found this video useful or it's resonated with you, please give me a subscribe below and let me know in the comments what you thought of it, which bit resonated with you the most, and what you'd like to see more moving into the future. Thanks for joining. Life and business are better happy.